We aren't naturally monogamous animals. And so basically what we're doing is standing on one foot for 50 years. And if somebody asks you to stand on one foot for 50 years and twice you put your left foot down and touch the floor, you're actually really awesome at standing on one foot for 50 fucking years. But the idea that we have about monogamy is literally the only thing humans do where perfection is the only standard for success.
You're listening to the Almost 30 Podcast, a lifestyle podcast hosted by Krista Williams and Lindsey Simsick.
Tune in for a new episode every Tuesday to hear our honest conversations about topics like wellness, entrepreneurship, spirituality, and self-development with guests who are really smart, really inspirational,
and really fucking funny. It's real, it's raw, and it's unfiltered.
Inspired by our transition from our 20s to our 30s, we realized it's so much more than that. Our mission is to provide you with the tools, guidance, and motivation to help you navigate any transitions in your life and propel your personal growth.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Almost 30 Podcast.
Here we go. So you guys know we have the studio in my home. In the cribbo. And I have a new neighbor. She works from home.
Over there?
And she fucking talks.
No.
And so I live in it's so cute. It looks like a Dutch wonderland.
Yeah,
and
it's really cute.
All my neighbors are awesome and they like hang out with each other. I didn't know that. And it was really cute. I kind of keep to myself, but I'm like friendly. And so we had a Taco Tuesday on Tuesday night. And I was like, you know what? I should go. Mm-hmm. Like I should just, cause they're always like, oh, wow, you're here. You know what I mean? Like, cause we're always out of town for the tour, or at least when we've done it, they've done it. And they were all very sweet. Everyone came out of the woodwork, even the ones downstairs that have birds, and I never see them.
What kind of birds?
I don't know. Freaks me out when you have birds, to be honest. No hate, but it's more like I worry about bird feces in the air.
Yeah.
And like bird feathers and just like gook. Anyway, but this new girl's really, really nice next door, but she works from home and talks on the phone. I was like, oh God.
Oh no.
What should I do? I told her about the podcast and then we record in there and everyone.
Send her passive aggressive notes.
Just
put
like,
on her door.
I'll just like peek and be like, hey, it's me. We're about to
just put a note on our door. Be like, hey, everyone can hear you. And act like you don't know who it is. Yeah, anonymous.
Signed anonymous.
XOXO anonymous. The thing with birds is that like you can't cuddle them. I don't want an animal I can't cuddle.
I'm sure he has an argument for that. It's him and his wife.
I think they're smart. You know, but like, it's like, I can't like hold it close to me.
I was really upset. There's on Wilshire, like a mile down the road from me, there's an exotic bird shop and there's a fucking toucan in a cage in the window.
Breaks my heart.
Because like toucans like are like a little character and he's just so sad.
Actually from the rainforest.
From the rainforest in a cage on Wilshire Boulevard.
On Wilshire Boulevard. For why? Like,
why?
What kind of like monster besides like drug dealers in the 80s wants like exotic animals as pets?
I don't know. And I feel like we can pick it.
What?
Just like stand outside.
Oh, 100%.
Be like, this is fucked up.
It's fucked up and like you're a loser. Like we need to shame those people. Honestly, they need to be shamed.
Yeah.
That's terrible. It's like, who do you think you are? You're like, sweet, I have a toucan at my house. Like, what?
No.
That so and sad. When we were in Japan, they have cat cafes and they have owl cafes. So the owls, for the most part, are bred in captivity. So they're kind of this is what they say. They're kind of used to like being around humans, being inside. But it is kind of sad to see the owls in these spaces and like there's just like humans coming in and out.
Are they out of a cage?
Yeah, they're out of a cage. Chilling? They're chilling. They can fly. But, you know, like, it just like what's hard is that like for an hour, you know, they just have these scheduled things where the people come in and just pet them.
Also, are you in the dark at this cafe? Because I think owls like the nighttime.
I know. Same. Yeah. So the owls so then they're forced to no longer be nocturnal. And then they also have cat cafes. So there was like this Bengal cat cafe, you know, Bengals, how they can like breed those. Or like the Bengal cats.
Yeah. Oh, like a kitty.
Yeah, like a kitty. Yeah. There's this like breed called Bengals, and they're really small. And they had like 10 of them in the room, and like cats do not fuck with other cats.
No.
So all of them were like so on alert. Their eyes were like, the pupils of their eyes were so big. They were like fighting other cats. It was just like, I'm sure they just were so stressed out all the time.
Totally.
I mean, it's just, that stuff is just like terrible. But I do think they have little like puppy cafes. I think that's like, I think puppies are like down with it. I don't know. I'm not saying
but
like.
Then they also serve dogs in Asia.
Yeah. I think they've moved away from that, but I know. But I mean, pigs are just as smart as dogs.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
Completely.
And we have an excess of dogs. Just saying. Just saying.
Oh, we're going to get hate mail.
Yeah, literally. Just saying. Okay. We should eat dogs. Just saying.
Yum, yum.
Yum.
Yum. Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How are you? Welcome to the Almost 30 podcast. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. Thanks for subscribing. We love you so much. And
saw all the groups. We have a bunch of other subgroups popping off on Facebook that you guys are creating and not inviting us to.
So if you create a subgroup, just know that mom and mom want to be a part of it.
Yeah, literally.
We're literally, Chris is like, there's a Chicago group and they didn't invite us. I was like, what do you mean?
Dude, none of them have. I have to request every time.
Invite us. We want to be a part of the convo.
We do. We want to see what's up, but we love that you guys are doing that. So keep creating those subgroups. I linked every one of them in the larger secret Facebook group so you can find your city's subgroup there.
So nice. Book groups. People getting together for fitness. So anyway. We love that. And we're on tour. We've been seeing you on tour. We are wrapping up this leg of the tour. And then for the rest of the year, we'll be in a little cave creating for you all for the new year, which is really exciting. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
And yeah. So do we have any business before we get into...
No biz.
No biz?
Straight up to Dan.
Dan Savage.
Truly a legend.
Yeah, we were in Seattle.
He is
famous in Seattle.
He is famous in Seattle. Like, he is one of the most influential people.
And controversial
in Seattle. And when we had Dan at the Riveter, you know, even the staff there was like, wow, Dan Savage is here. Like, they were amazed that he was coming to interview us and that someone that has had such an impact on the Seattle community was speaking with us. And Dan was such a great interview. He was so warm. He is so authentic and honest and open. And we're excited to really like delve into some pretty exciting topics with you.
Yeah. So Dan is an American author, media pundit, journalist, and activist for the LGBT community. He writes Savage Love, which is an internationally syndicated relationship and sex advice column in The Stranger, which is a publication. So I highly recommend checking that out. Dan doesn't hold back, and we love that about him. And what's so great about the conversations that we have on the podcast, you know, we're not going to invite people on all the time that we just agree with. And we can, you know, we want to have actual conversations where we learn about different points of view. And so many of them we share with Dan, but others like completely kind of like opened our eyes and made us think about some things. So you'll see that. What else? I mean, there's so much to unpack.
So Dan has the really, really popular Savage Lovecast as one of his podcasts, where you can ask him for love, relationship, sex advice. It's always really highly ranked on iTunes, both in health and on the overall charts. And it's really, really fun to listen to, awesome to get insight into other people's relationships, other people's sexual preferences, what's going on in the world really with sex and love, and kind of the advice that Dan has related to that. But one of the topics that I really loved that we talked about was the topic of monogamy, and something that really changed the way that I think about monogamy, how I currently perceive it today. So in our conversation with Dan, I was able to examine the fact that the way I grew up in a Catholic church, pretty conservative, monogamy meant never cheating on someone, only being with them, maybe even only being with them as your only partner. Mm-hmm. And that's what true monogamy was. You are not to look at anyone else. You're not to be attracted to anyone else. You're not to think about anyone else. And kind of these unrealistic expectations that we put on people and don't really see them as humans. And being a little bit more flexible and forgiving about infidelity and cheating, something that I've had in my life, in and out of my life, not in, my current relationship now at all, but it's just, we are so hard and fast with saying like, if you cheat, you are a bad person and you should be broken up with and all of these things. But then people could go through and have a relationship where they get verbally abused for years and years, but because it's not cheating, it's not, you shouldn't break up. There's just such weird standards that we have related to infidelity. And, just because you have one night where you make a mistake and you love someone for 30 years shouldn't discredit like the love that you have for someone. So it really helped me to be more forgiving and understanding of that with people.
Yeah. And then also on kind of a lighter note, I was blown away by his piece of art and this festival that he brings every year. It's called the Hump Film Festival. You heard it right, Hump. It has been bringing audiences a new kind of porn since 2005. So it features short, dirty movies, each less than 5 minutes, and all created by people who aren't porn stars but want to be one for a weekend. And these films are destroyed after the weekend and they're never posted online. No one can bring in their phones. Like, it is just in the moment watching these videos, these movies that people have created. And it's funny, Dan describes kind of the evolution of the night of the festival, where like in the beginning, people are like, oh my God, what the fuck? Yeah. And then by the end, it's like everyone is just like cheering and supporting, because we're all humans. We all like, have that sexual being inside of us, like at different levels, each of us expresses it. But I thought that was so cool. I don't know if I would ever do it. Maybe not. But like, it's fun to be expressive in a way that society says is bad. And like, why is it bad? I think a lot of people have ruined the porn industry on like the side of like making money off of it. And I don't know. It's interesting to kind of think more deeply about. So Dan helped us to do that. So we hope you enjoy this episode. We go in every which way, and Dan is just a super interesting human. And yeah, let us know what you think. You can subscribe on iTunes, rate and review. If you love the podcast, share it with friends. It all means so much to us. We read a review every week, and happy to do so because it really lights up our lives and reminds us why we do this. Catch us on tour, almost30podcast.com/tour. We will be going international in the new year. So if you are international and want us to come to your city, let us know. You can email us at hello@almost30podcast.com. Follow us on Instagram, almost30podcast. We love you. Is that it? Whew.
Yeah.
All right. See you on the other side.
Bye.
This episode is brought to you by Organifi. Krista and I are still on tour, meeting all of you, having a blast, but we are committed to staying really healthy on the road, keeping our energy up, focus sharp, and we have done so with Organifi. So Organifi is a superfood supplement line that makes quality, trusted nutrition convenient and accessible. So their most popular product, which is our favorite, the green juice, solves the problem of juicing greens on the go. So we find that when we're on the road, we go to juice shops and there's a ton of sugar in these green juices. What is the deal? So we've solved this problem with Organifi. It's so easy. They also have a red juice, which is a superfood powder packed with antioxidants and immune boosting herbs, which I love to also do on the road because sometimes when I'm on the plane, my immune system is a little shoddy. This keeps me super healthy. Again, you just add a scoop to water, or you can even add it to almond milk, and you'll get your daily boost of superfoods and antioxidants. It's really amazing. We love it. So to try Organifi, you can go to Organifi.com, ORGANIFI.com, and use our code ALMOST30 for 20% off your first order. So that's Organifi.com, ORGANIFI.com, and use our code ALMOST30, ALMOST30 for 20% off. This episode is also brought to you by Branch Basics. This is a multi-purpose concentrate that makes cleaning simple, affordable, and sustainable. It is safe for you, your body, your health, your friends that come into your space, your family. This concentrate has completely changed the way I clean my home, and I love it so much. I didn't realize before talking to Allison Evans on our podcast that the products that I was using that I thought were clean were not actually fully clean products. They still had chemicals in them, even though they were quote unquote green. So I was really interested to dig into my cabinet and see what I was using and how it might be affecting my health, my skin, my hormones, etc. So it's really simple. In a starter kit, you get a bunch of bottles, and you pick a bottle, whether it's a small little spray, big spray bottle, a soap dispenser, and you fill it with water to the line on the label that says water. And then you fill with concentrate to the soap line on the label. Really easy. You just mix it up and it's ready to go. Swear it works. It's so, so good and effective. I love the oxygen boost for my laundry. So there's a starter kit plus oxygen boost. I got that one. Really, really good. And it's just great. So you can do your laundry, you can wash your hands and your body. All of this is safe for you to touch and to use in your home, on your clothes. It's something that you can trust. It's human safe, plant and mineral based, free of harmful preservatives, biodegradable, not tested on animals, and non-GMO. The concentrate is super powerful. So they want these products to get the job done, obviously. So it removes stains, dirt, grease, and grime, whether it's red wine or a baked in lasagna dish. It covers it. Trust me, I've tried it. And there's no fragrance. So you're not dealing with like, oh wait, where does this smell come from? How are you making this synthetic smell? No fragrance. A lot of people have sensitivities to fragrances and harsh chemicals. So this takes care of that. So it's great for people with asthma, allergies, chemical sensitivity, all of the things. So we're really excited to share Branch Basics with you. The power of pure can be in your hands, in your home, if you use our code ALMOST30NATION for 15% off a starter kit. I would recommend the starter kit plus oxygen boost. Great for laundry. But there's 2 starter kit options. So check that out at branchbasics.com. BRANCH basics.com. Use the code ALMOST30NATION for 15% off a starter kit.
Are you Chicago proud?
Oh, my brother gave me this t-shirt.
He did.
He's Chicago proud. I love Chicago. It's a much better town than Seattle.
Why do you say that?
Because it's not a bullshit town.
Oh, tell me more.
It's got real rapid transit. It's got a subway and an elevated train system.
Are people allergic to like actual transit here besides their legs?
I love Seattle,
but I noticed that they're like, oh, I have to drive. And I was like, oh.
Well, driving here is a pain in the ass because it's 7 hills all cut up by lakes and water and rivers. So there's always a bottleneck. And so traffic is terrible. And they didn't build a rapid transit system that took people out of traffic and gave them an alternative.
Totally.
Because Seattle is fucking stupid.
Yeah, so why do you live here then? Like, what's the...
Is this the interview now? Are we talking?
Yeah,
okay.
This is it. Because you're such a prominent figure here, and like you're so important here, so...
Why do I stay?
So what's going on?
Well, I moved here to help start The Stranger, which is my home paper in Seattle. And a couple of years after starting The Stranger, I met my husband and we had a kid, and he doesn't want to leave, and neither does our kid, who's now an adult, but still lives with us because that's the way things roll now with kids.
How old is he?
20.
Cool. Shut up.
And so I'm just kind of stuck here.
Yeah.
Because my husband won't go. I was thinking that thing, Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, not the current Queen Elizabeth, her mom, during the Second World War, they wanted her to take Elizabeth, the current queen, and her sister Margaret to Canada and get them out of London, away from the Blitz, away from the Nazis. And This is, I don't know how this is coming out of my mouth now.
Because you're kind of like the queen.
Yeah, no, Terry yeah, I am actually the queen of this.
Like, so in this scenario, I'm the queen.
Why can't I leave Seattle? And Queen Elizabeth said, the girls won't leave without me. I won't leave without the king won't leave. And I would leave Seattle, but I won't leave without the king, and the king won't leave, and the king is Terry.
The king is Terry. And then your son is 20.
Yeah.
He's living with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is like fatherhood like? Like, what is it?
It's like a heroin problem.
Tell me
the
more.
highs, you've never been so high. You've never been so blissed out. And the lows, you're like, why the fuck did I stick that needle in my arm the first time?
Yeah.
My mom said that the other day on the phone. She's like, sometime as a parent, you regret having kids. But I was like,
well, life is regret. You have kids and you have your regrets. You don't have kids and you have your regrets. You pick one person if you're going to partner for life, hopefully, and you have your regrets. There's that wonderful song from Company by Stephen Sondheim where a single character asks a married friend, are you ever sorry you got married? And he says, you're always sorry and you're always grateful. And that's really it. With just about any life choice, you could major like fork in the road life choice around career or parenting or partnering. You're always like happy
looking over you
about the choice you made and mourning the choice you made.
Yeah.
Did you always have that like knowing, or because I feel like some people in our generation, or maybe it's even younger, like my brother's generation, early 20s, they think, I have to be happy, and if it like kind of strays from like feeling comfortable, they freak out. So did you always kind of know that like shit was going to be hard and also rewarding?
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
I'm Catholic. Like shit is hard.
Yeah.
Life is misery and
right
suffering and
Catholic?
pain. I call myself culturally Catholic. My Jewish friends helped me get there.
Wait, what is a cultural Catholic?
Well, I have all these friends who are Jewish that I helped start The Stranger with, and I knew them to be bacon-eating atheists who didn't believe in anything. And yet they were doing Rosh Hashanah, they were doing Yom Kippur, they were getting together and celebrating the holidays. And they were really kind of honoring their cultural identity as Jews. And I was like, why can't I do that as a Catholic? And not embrace the hocus pocus or believe in transubstantiation or anything else, but still describe myself as a Catholic because I feel very Catholic. And my Catholic education and my childhood and my parents and all the goddamn masses I had to sit through. It carves a groove that
it's a nice
you can't pretend isn't there.
integration that you like. It's a nice way to look at it, to integrate it, because I kind of resist it. I think I
Were you raised Catholic?
Same.
Yeah, I'm from Ohio, so we're on the cut from the same cloth in a way. So yeah, and I kind of see it as like I want to move against it. So it's interesting that you, I guess, like integrate that into your life.
Do you know what's really fun though? When I say I'm culturally Catholic, it drives conservative Catholics crazy. So it is a way to move against it.
That's your favorite thing to do. And you're like, if I know one thing, that's the one thing I know.
Like Bill Donahue, who runs the Catholic League, which is just this insane anti-gay hate organization, is constantly attacking me. And one of the things he like gets upset about is when I call myself a Catholic, because how dare I? With all the dick I'm putting in my face and not going to church or confession for 30 years, how can I call myself a Catholic? Because I can. Yeah. Because I am. Because my parents were. Because I'm baptized. Because I was raised Catholic and I have a Catholic education. And so I'm pretty fucking Catholic. I just don't believe in the hocus pocus anymore.
So you're raised Catholic, parents are Catholic. What was the experience when you came out to your parents?
It was a long ass time ago. And I kind of now take a sort of softer sort of approach to who my parents were then.
Sure.
Because it's easy now to look back through the prism of right now and fault my parents for not being kind of P-flag hero parents circa 2018. But they were operating on the information that they had available to them then, which was incredibly limited. And the idea then was that homosexuality was something that, your kid could drift into. And to keep them from drifting in, you had to nudge them in the other direction. So I got nudged a lot by my parents, and it made it really hard to come out to them. And when I did come out to them, it was to my mom first. It was, she said all the wrong things. She told me I could never have a boyfriend in the house. She never wanted to meet anyone I was dating. But then she got over it really quickly, ironically, jumping back to the top of this conversation with the help of a priest. Because I told my mother I was gay. And the first thing she said was, did you hear the one about the two men who attacked a woman in Lincoln Park, which was the gay cruising Park in Chicago. And I said, no, Mom.
I lived in Lincoln Park.
And my mom said, one held her down, the other did her hair. That was the first thing out of her mouth. And I was like, okay, that's not what I expected.
What's going on?
But she had a big meltdown. And she called a priest whose name he was still alive and still priesting. So I don't give his name out because I don't want to get him in trouble with the church. But called this priest who came to our house. That's how Catholic we were. The priest would make house calls for us. And she sat down with him on the front porch and said, Danny says he's gay. Not Danny is, Danny says. And Father Tom put his hand on my mother's knee and said, Judy, so am I.
I thought he was going to be like, let's see how gay he is.
and he told her it was better that she should love and accept it, and it was better that I lived the life that I was going to live than live the life he lived, which he knew I was contemplating because I had gone to a seminary for high school and was thinking about becoming a priest.
Wow.
So that helped. Thank you, Father Tom.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
Yeah,
T-Dog.
wow.
Did you always feel the presence of God? Like, are you, so you're Catholic, are you religious?
I was told
like,
to feel the presence of God. And, when they tell you that shit when you're a kid, you felt the presence of the fucking tooth fairy. You felt the presence of Santa Claus. Santa Claus was really watching.
Yeah.
Like your parents tell you to believe something and they pretend to believe it. And so you're like, oh yeah, that's a thing. I can feel that. Oh my God, the tooth fairy came last night. I felt her in the middle of the night moving my pillow. It was actually Mom. So yeah, I felt the presence of God until I woke up one day and went, yeah, this is tooth fairy stuff.
And has it kind of changed that feeling as you've done the work that you've done and connected with so many people and changed and supported so many lives?
Well,
spiritually, has that
the thing I took away from my Catholic education, I think the thing that everyone should take away from the Bible is the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you, which means you want to treat other people the way you would like to be treated. You want people to be honest with you, you want people to be kind to you, you want people to be compassionate, understanding, and forgiving with you, and you need to be all that shit for other people too. I always tell religious people who have a problem with my column or the podcast to dump it all in a pot and boil it down to its essence, and you're left with do unto others. There's just more that can be done unto other people in my universe than perhaps in yours, but we're still operating under that moral principle.
What's that like for what you do? How do you deal with feedback and criticism? Like, honestly, we get one thing
and we're like,
yeah, we get one thing that's like, hey, you guys should cuss a little less. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, what do you do?
Lay flat on the floor.
Yeah, how do I?
Yeah.
I need to inject Dan Savage into my veins.
I get a lot of grief. I get a lot of criticism. And it's tricky because you don't want to dismiss it all because sometimes the person is right.
Yeah.
But you get so much of it that to function and to preserve your sanity, you just start tuning all of it out. So you have to sort of judiciously let a little bit of it in and know how to discard, vicious bullshit that comes from a place of vicious bullshit from, strongly worded, even angry criticisms that are legit. And that's a hard sort of line to walk, but it's a privilege to get to walk it because it means that you're in this position where more people are listening to you than are listening to the person who's yelling at you. That's why they're yelling at you. And you just kind of have to be gracious about it and golden rule it a little bit. Like when I'm upset, I want to be heard. This person's upset. They want to be heard. Are they right? Are they wrong? Do I have to act on it? Do I need to think about it? We'll see. So a lot of it, there's this outrage culture on Twitter and certainly on Tumblr where people are just sitting in front of their computers all day, with a Hitachi magic wand between their legs looking for outrage orgasms. And when those people get upset, I'm like, you're welcome. I gave you what you wanted, which was your anger and rage buzzing of your clit today. Go for it. And enjoy yourself. And if it's not going to be me, it's going to be somebody else.
Yeah.
I've often now find myself in a position where I'm counseling people who are getting grief on the internet, who are getting dogpiled on Twitter or getting attacked everywhere. Other writers and editors and TV people, when they step on that rake and they get yelled at, somehow they know to call me because I've been through it a lot, including being attacked by Fox News and Breitbart for a solid week. And, I've been to that rodeo and I know how to navigate it.
Have you always spoken your truth?
Yeah.
Like, who was Dan Savage in his early 20s?
Yeah.
There are truths I spoke and truths I didn't. The thing about opening your mouth when you're a teenager in 1980 in Chicago and telling your mom you're a fag is that's hard. That was a really difficult thing to tell mom. That makes telling other truths to other people a lot less scary. So, telling my mom I was gay was the hardest thing I ever had to do. Telling my, husband I'm pissed off about this, or telling a boyfriend this is the kind of sex I like, or, getting into it with somebody else around a conflict or an argument, nothing is ever as scary as that. That's why gay people are so much more comfortable talking about their kinks or their relationships than straight people are. Because the hard part was telling mom, you put dicks in your mouth. Talking honestly with your sex partner about sex is easy comparatively. And for straight people, that what we regard as a molehill is the mountain, which is why half of my job is telling straight people to use their words and talk to each other about the sex they want to have.
We're just getting hip to the idea that, I think women talk about it to each other, and now it's like, oh, no, that matters very little. You have to be talking to if you're, in a straight relationship, like you have to be talking to your partner,
and you can't hold up the ability to read my mind as a test of someone's love and devotion or emotional intelligence, because nobody can read anybody's mind. And that doesn't seem to be a thing that guys have, but painting with a broad brush, you make a generalization about men and women, you're generalizing about 3.5 billion people on the one hand and 3.5 billion people on the other hand. There's going to be tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of exceptions. But broadly speaking, women really have this thing about guys need to read my mind. That means he loves me if he knows what I want without me having to tell him.
It's these tests.
Yeah, and that's just a recipe for romantic failure.
I'm trying to think of why that is. Like,
it's almost like we don't want to. Well, we've been learning, so I think we're on like the upswing. But
people don't want to ask for what they want because, and women are subjected to so much slut shaming and tamping down of their own desires that women often are left in a condition where they can't articulate their desires. So they want someone to just know what they want and do it. And women have to say it. You have to be able to speak it. You have to talk it. And also sometimes women will find themselves saying it to a guy who's freaked out that they're with a woman who's saying it.
100%.
Who's asking for what she needs to get off, as opposed to letting him fly blind, which is what he's used to and expects from women. Yep. So it's a real catch-22. It's a real cock in a hard place for a lot of women. But no guy knows what you want without being told. Yeah. And I say this is somebody who fucks guys.
Yeah. Is there slut shaming in the gay community? Like, what does that look like?
Well, slut shaming is anybody who has more sex than you do is a slut. Tara and I come in for some slut shaming because we're not monogamous and we're, married and parents and semi, prominent. Yeah. And unlike most gay couples, I think, who are prominent, we're honest about the fact that we're not monogamous instead of being socially monogamous.
Right.
And that freaks some people out, and people make assumptions about our lives that aren't true and make up bullshit about us that we haven't done and push it out onto Twitter or Tumblr. Every once in a while, it's fun to read the rumors.
Yeah, you're like, that would be fun. That would be fun.
What do you think it is?
And sometimes we don't worry about the stuff we've actually done that gets out there because it's just like, how are they going to tell this apart from all the bullshit?
Totally.
What do you think it is about monogamy that's such a trigger for people? Like, why is it
such a big deal?
Yeah.
Because we're told it's a big deal. Because we're told that if someone loves you, they're not going to want to have sex with anybody else. And then we fall in love and we still want to have sex with other people. And then we doubt our feelings because why do we want to fuck other people? If we're in love with this person, we doubt our affection for that person, and that person doubts their affection for us and our affection for them. We just have to reframe the whole conversation around monogamy. Monogamy doesn't mean you don't want to. It means you don't. You still want to. And you could undo a lot of the grief and anxiety and conflict that's generated in relationships if everyone could just accept what everyone knows to be true, that of course you want to fuck other people and so does your partner. So that's why he looked at the barista. That's why she hired that personal trainer instead of some other personal trainer. The question is she fucking her personal trainer? Is he fucking that barista? And if the answer is no, they're doing monogamy right.
Yeah.
And I get in trouble for things I say about monogamy sometimes, but we aren't naturally monogamous animals. And so basically what we're doing is standing on one foot for 50 years. And if somebody asks you to stand on one foot for 50 years and twice you put your left foot down and touch the floor, you're actually really awesome at standing on one foot for 50 fucking years. But the idea that we have about monogamy is it's literally the only thing humans do where perfection is the only standard for success. If you're with somebody for 60 years and you cheated on them once, you were never in love and you were terrible at monogamy.
I know.
if Shaun White is the world's greatest snowboarder, he can fall down and get up and still be the world's greatest snowboarder. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What we do to ourselves and what we do to our relationships. And it's not non-monogamous relationships that are undermined by this bullshit. It's monogamous relationships. So when I say these things, it's not to talk everyone into having a non-monogamous relationship. It's not to disparage monogamous relationships. It's try to get people who want to have monogamous relationships to be realistic about what that means for 50 years. And if somebody cheats on you twice in 50 years in a monogamous relationship, they were good at monogamy and they loved you a lot. And if people could get that in their heads, then they wouldn't, if they find evidence that there was cheating at the end of a marriage, on the deathbed, they're not going to then doubt everything that came before. Or if they were cheated on once and it comes out a couple years later, you don't have to get a divorce. We define infidelity as always a relationship extinction level event. Then we turn around and define everything as infidelity. Micro cheating, like pornography, web
chat stuff.
We define everything as cheating. We define cheating as unforgivable. And then we watch relationships collapse all around us and wonder why that's happening.
So is it about like opening up, lifting the shame, opening up the conversation? Because I'm trying to think, I'm like, I guess what would bother me about any of that is the secrecy and the lying.
Yeah, everybody says that.
I'm like, oh, like if it was an open conversation.
Let's see. So your husband or your partner, your mate, I assume you want to have a monogamous commitment. That's your preferred model. You're with them for 5 years. You're married. Maybe you have an infant. They come to you and say, I think I'm going to fuck this other person. No secrecy, no lies. That okay?
Right.
You'd be devastated.
Right.
You find out 5 years after they fucked that person that they fucked that person, regretted it, never did it again, and had the decency to keep it from you so they could still be in your eyes what you needed them to be. Which was the more loving, considerate act? Oh, hey, honey, I'm going to go fuck this other person. That okay? Or, oh my God, I fucked this other person, which is not carte blanche. I'm not smiling at serial cheaters. And I'm not talking about routine infidelity or the kind of cheating that can't be gotten past. I'm talking about these kind of one-off slip-ups that people make for all sorts of different reasons. And as Esther Perel writes in State of Affairs, not always because there isn't love there. People cheat on people that they love for their own reasons, for their own purposes. And to meet their own sort of emotional needs. And it's not just men who cheat, it's also women who cheat. And so what do you do with that? Like going into making a long-term commitment, knowing what we know about infidelity and the statistics, odds are pretty good that you're going to get cheated on.
What are the statistics?
Or you'll cheat. It's like 50% of men, 40% of women in long-term committed relationships. These are hard statistics These are hard stats to nail down because people don't tell the truth.
Yeah.
They're like
about it. But
they cleared their cachet.
The stats used to show that men cheated much, much more often than women cheated. And people were like, oh, women are monogamous. Women are the good ones. Women are the nurturers and need intimacy. And it's about the relationship.
Yeah.
And as women have achieved more economic power, women now cheat as often as men cheat. So it was never about women are more naturally monogamous or morally superior. It was that cheating for women was much riskier and more dangerous because of violence, because of the financial... Getting preg, but also violence if their partner should find out. Also being divorced and financially ruined or impoverished if they were left for cheating themselves. It was much riskier for women. As women have gained more economic power, it's become less risky, and now women do it as often as men do it. We're all dirty fucking...
Dirty fuckers.
Dirty fuckers.
So for
horny, dirty fuckers. And so if you know that you're making a commitment, you're going into a long-term relationship, I really feel like everybody who's about to marry should have this conversation, which is not, I will never cheat on you, but when or if you cheat on me or I cheat on you, what are we going to do? Are we going to prioritize the relationship and work through it? Are we going to leave each other? Like, what's the plan? And then to agree that it has to be judged on a case-by-case basis. Fucked your sister on your wedding night at the reception, probably can't get past that. 30 years into a marriage where you have property and home and kids and, a position in the community and all these friends and networks that are knit together, and your sex life isn't really the defining characteristic or even the most important aspect of your intimacy, and he got jacked off by a masseuse on a business trip, maybe you can get past that.
We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from our sponsor, Apres. Apres is a ready-to-drink plant protein beverage. We are so obsessed with Apres. We cannot get over how good it tastes. Oftentimes we find protein beverages or mixes that, although they're good for us, don't taste amazing, but we just suck it up anyway. And Apres checks both boxes among others, and we are so proud to have them as a sponsor. You know, in the past, protein has been all about, building muscle and so many ingredients that you can't pronounce. It's really confusing. So Apres is reimagining protein with clean, plant-based ingredients, perfect for someone who wants to know exactly what they are putting into their body. It's super thoughtful in its ingredients, and it was designed by a health coach and personal trainer over the course of a year and a half. And it's the first product of its kind with organic plant proteins, metabolic fats from organic virgin coconut oil, and electrolytes from organic coconut water, all in one really smooth, super creamy, ready to drink bottle. It's delicious. So their protein blend contains 13 grams of organic plant protein, like I said, but it's from pea, chia, cacao, and hemp. So you ask, why 13 grams? The amount of protein that you need varies. So depending on your weight, daily exercise goals, and overall what makes your body uniquely you and happy and healthy. So with that being said, doctors recommend that the average woman ingests 0.5 grams to 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So this means if you weigh, say, 140 pounds, your daily protein intake should be around 70 grams total. So with 13 grams of protein per Apres, you're getting about 15 to 20% of your protein intake from one 180 calorie beverage, which is incredible. I love this drink. So they have the mint cacao and also the salted caramel, but they're coming out with 2 new flavors just released. They're out. Cold brew coffee and vanilla. Both are delicious. I don't know what to tell you other than please try it. This is the perfect way to nourish your body. I know you guys are running around starting businesses, taking care of families, working so hard. And this is one way in which you can really take care of yourself and know that it is nourishing your body. So for our beautiful listeners, we love you guys so much. You can go to drinkapres.com. So that's drinkapres.com. And you can use our code almost30 for 15% off your first order. We are so excited about this. We love Apres. If you've been to our events, you've probably tried it. So drinkapres.com, use our code almost30 for 15% off. This episode is also brought to you by HoneyBook.
Oh man, you guys, when Lindsey and I made Almost 30 the real deal business, I actually put out some feelers to my Instagram people and asked what entrepreneurs and creatives use to organize their business and to stay on top of everything, all the invoicing, basically how they manage their clients and customers. There was a resounding answer from all of those people. They love HoneyBook. So we've been using HoneyBook with Almost 30 to help us manage our invoicing, help us stay on top of things with clients, and really just have a one-stop shop for seeing what's going on with the business for everyone to look at and keep track of.
Yeah, it just streamlines everything. And it also just makes you look really professional.
Yep.
Kind of helps you to walk that walk before you feel like you're even ready. So if you're a photographer, designer, event professional, and any other solopreneurs, you can save hundreds of hours, if not thousands, which I feel like we have. So for a limited time, Almost 30 listeners can get 50% off the first year of HoneyBook with promo code almost30. HoneyBook membership includes unlimited access to all features at one low monthly price. So you can go to honeybook.com and use our code almost30 to get started. So that's honeybook.com, promo code almost30 to get 50% off the first year of HoneyBook.
For your relationship, did it evolve?
We were monogamous for 4 years.
Okay. And then did you have the conversation or what was that like?
We had the convo actually when we were adopting.
Okay.
Because Terry at the time was Mr. Table pounding monogamy man, which is hilarious if you've seen him on Instagram now. But he
works really, out kind of.
Yeah,
both
he works
of you
out
guys.
Kind of.
I know both of you.
He's surrounded by boys.
Gay and jacked.
And he was Mr. Monogamy and was like, if you cheat on me, I'm going to leave you. And we had this combo, which like, I was like, I'm not adopting with you then, because what a terrible thing to do to a child. Not that I plan to cheat on you, but we're gay men, and the odds are pretty good that one or the other or both of us are going to cheat. And if cheating means the end of our relationship, we're bringing a kid into a home that's not broken yet, but will be soon. And I just didn't think that was fair. So the agreement we hammered out wasn't anything goes, it's all okay, cheat at will. The agreement was, we will not take an infidelity as the end, but as something we're going to see if we can't work through, and feel positive about positively enough about our relationship that we could keep things in perspective. And that's what people don't do when it comes to cheating. And I get this from people who say that I place too much importance on sex. But, here are the scales. And on one side, you put a blowjob from a rando, and the other side, you put 10 years together, marriage, family, children, property, social position. And everybody says, okay, well, that blowjob outweighs all that.
I know.
Which is crazy.
Crazy.
And I think we have to give weight to those other ways in which people demonstrate their loyalty and commitment. You don't just demonstrate loyalty and commitment with genitalia. You also don't just cheat with genitalia. Again, as Esther Perel says, I think so brilliantly, people cheat in lots of different ways. That people betray their partners, is what she says, with contempt, with neglect, with abuse. But all we look for is who fucked somebody. They're the bad guy.
Wow.
Taking that
moment for Esther.
Yeah. Yeah.
Esther Perel's a genius, and everyone should be reading her books.
We're a little like, she's like, for your podcast, Savage Love Podcast, like what is a common thread that you see for the people in their 20s, like early 20s going to 30s? Like what is a common thread for the questions that they seem to be asking you?
Is this normal? I still get a lot. People are really worried and
doubtful.
Nothing's normal. When it comes to human sexuality, variance is the norm. So the weirder and more unique you are, the more normal you are, paradoxically. Often it's relationships where people aren't being honest, and they're afraid to be honest for fear of rejection. I think really fear of rejection is the underlying anxiety that drives a lot of conflict and secrecy and games and fear. And people need to shift their perspective on rejection. Because if you're with the wrong person, the sooner you get to rejection, the sooner you meet somebody else who might be right for you, the sooner you're with the right person. But people don't tell their partners the truth about who they are sexually, what they want out of this relationship to feel fulfilled and happy in it, because they are afraid of being rejected. And that often boils down to really nitty gritty shit around kinks or desire. And people don't want to, straight people, opposite sexers, don't want to put that out there for fear of being judged and rejected. And gay people are like, judgment and rejection, been there, done that.
Yeah, it's so interesting how that paves the way, and it's just opened conversation. For our listeners, can you explain, I mean, they know, but just kind of defining kinks and that, sexual fantasies that I'm just thinking about the generation coming up, and they seem so fluid and open, and yeah, I want our generation to kind of catch up.
I know. Are you excited by the younger generation, or what are your thoughts?
Well, I think we always have to be on the lookout for, people who are, whether this is representative of the entire demographic or whether these are a self-selected group of people who are in front of our faces on Twitter or Tumblr or wherever. Who may not be representative of the whole, that they're outliers. A lot of these people who are sort of fluid and with it and entirely together and articulate about sex and their sex lives. There are many, many more people out there. I think the vast majority who are inhibited, struggling with hangups, trying to find the language, had lousy sex educations, got on the internet but didn't go to the woke places on the internet sexually that or gender-wise that other people winded up at, and aren't as sort of comfortable or fluid or conversant or able to express themselves and express their desires in a healthy way. And those are the people I tend to hear from every day.
Absolutely. Backing up just 1 second I was curious about how you had a conversation with your son about, having not relationships, deep relationships, but being kind of poly within your marriage.
Well, it's only something we've discussed with him recently.
Okay.
People don't want to hear about what their parents are up to. If your parents were swingers, you probably wouldn't want them to tell you.
Yeah. That'd be cool though.
Yeah.
But now that we're all adults and we all live in the same place, we kind of had a combo with him. We were like, so Terry has a boyfriend. That's why that person's around a lot. And that's okay. And it doesn't mean we're breaking up, and it doesn't mean we don't love each other and blah, blah, blah. It just means that on top of everything else that you've had to deal with your family being different, there's also this.
Yeah.
He's like, sounds good, Dad.
He's like, can I go?
He's like, I'm going back to my room.
Apartment. That kid's got his own apartment.
I'm sure he's living the life.
That's so awesome.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about how we can be better like friends and allies to the LGBTQ community, trans community, especially as things are evolving. Like what could our generation do for the females that are listening, the straight ones, the non-straight ones? Like what's a way that we can support
the LGBT community? You know, people talk about that, and I find that so interesting because it's work to oppress people. So you want to help the LGBT community? Like take your foot off the neck. And that applies almost across the board to any marginalized community. And sometimes the foot is on the neck because there's fear and ignorance and misunderstanding. And so it does require some effort to educate oneself and to get comfortable enough so that you can take the foot off the neck. But holding people down is a struggle. You know, fighting against that is the struggle we talk about. But actually doing that to people is a struggle. Like, knock it the fuck off. That's how you can help me. Stop it. Stop holding me down. Stop oppressing me. Stop oppressing other people like me. Stop oppressing people because of their gender identity. Stop trying to prevent Black people from voting. Like there's a million different like examples you can give of the different ways in which the majority of people in this country work together to oppress different marginalized groups. And, you know, what can we do to support? Well, the first thing you can do is knock that off. And then you can live your life and let me live my life. And it's going to be fine.
Yep.
I don't need straight people in my life all day long supporting me.
Totally.
I need enough straight people to get over the gay thing that the straight people who would oppress me don't have the power to do so anymore.
Yeah. Love it. Respect.
Amen.
Almost
10 years ago, It Can Get Better.
It Gets Better project.
It Gets Better project came out, and I just kind of wanted to talk about why you started that and where it is now and kind of what you've seen over almost 10 years of these videos being submitted. It's beautiful and impactful, and I just love to learn more about it.
Well, we started it in reaction to one suicide in Greensburg, Indiana. You know, the idea was, you know, you'd hear about a queer kid committing suicide, and the impulse or the feeling, this horrible feeling that you would have was just, I wish I could have talked to that kid for 5 minutes and been able to tell them that it gets better, that it's not always high school, and that family turns around and gets better, and friends who are awful you can get rid of, and you can get away from shitty people and shitty circumstances in time. But, you know, as queer adults, we weren't allowed to talk to queer kids. If we tried to talk to queer kids, we were accused of recruiting or being pedophiles. So we just kind of hung back. And really for 40 years-ish, 50 years almost, since Stonewall, the deal the culture made with us was you're ours to torture until you're 18. And once you're 18, you can move away and come out. And if we haven't fucked you up fatally, maybe you can have a life. One thing you're not allowed to do, talk to the kids we're still torturing. In the same schools, in the same churches, in the same suburbs, in the same, sometimes the very same families where you were tortured. And if you try to talk to those kids because you ache for them and you empathize, we're going to call you a pedophile. And so we didn't. And what the project was about was, and still is about, is adult queer people talking to these kids. And the kids we're talking to who most need to hear from us are kids whose parents wouldn't let them join the GSA, kids who are in schools that don't have programs for queer kids, who don't have access to a queer youth support group or a queer role model in their lives. Because there are things adult queers know about navigating bullying, navigating homophobia, transphobia, biphobia, that these queer kids need to hear, but don't have any way of accessing. And the whole idea of the project was to make it that hard-earned wisdom accessible to these kids. Because you think about, you know, people, when we started the project, were like, you know, queer kids aren't the only kids who get bullied. Absolutely. 100% correct. But the kid at school who's bullied because of his race or her faith or his class, which is a kind of bullying we never talk about, goes home to parents of the same race, same faith, same class, who will arm them with strategies that they can tell what's happening to them and expect support and interventions from their families if need be. Their families got their backs, and queer kids go home to what? Mm-hmm. Maybe the lucky ones go home to families that love and support them. The really unlucky ones go home to families that are also bullying them. But the vast majority go home to families that they don't know if they can tell, because they don't know how they'll react. So they don't say anything. And even if they could tell them what are their straight parents going to tell them about how to survive this kind of anti-gay bullying or anti-queer bullying that they're experiencing? Their parents don't know how to do it. And the people who did know how you do it are the people who learned through trial and error on their own how to fucking do it. But that they didn't have a way before the project of like putting that in a place where the queer kids could access it and find it until we created the project. That's what it was all about. Like illuminating a path that existed, that we knew where it was, but they didn't know where it was because it wasn't lit up. And the project lit those paths up.
At that age, yeah, it feels like Final Destination, where you just like don't think you could ever rise up and ever feel joy or ever feel accepted. There's
something about high school that's so myopic. Like it's like, this is the only person that I will ever love. This is the only friends that I will ever have. This is the only,
this is the person I will always be.
Yeah.
This is the way I will always be treated.
Why is that? I wonder.
I think it's adolescence. I think it's hormones. I think it's the eternity that we spend in high school. I don't think high school needs to be 4 years. It could be 3. And it induces a kind of learned helplessness and despair in many, many, many kids. And that's a problem.
We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from our sponsor,
Grove. So, in the group, one of the most popular topics that we have is related to getting a clean, healthy home. The episodes that we've done about clean beauty, about non-toxic products have been game changers. So Lindsey and I knew that we needed to find a service that was really easy, that made sense for our girls, that delivered natural products to their house.
Mm-hmm. And I guess really like in the last only few years, I've really kind of become aware of the fact that a lot of the products I was using were not sustainable, not safe, and the companies weren't transparent about what was exactly in there. So if a product said green, it might not be completely green, and it might have chemicals in it that could be hurting our bodies, our skin, affecting our hormones. So it's been really one of like my big things is like going through the products I'm using and making sure they are clean and sustainable, etc. So Grove believes a healthy, beautiful home should be accessible to everyone. That's why they've made it really easy to get products to you that can make you feel great about using them around your home and around your family. What did you love?
I love Miss Myers.
Yeah.
I love Miss Myers. It's a classic. And I got the one yesterday, actually, that was spearmint. So I really liked that it was spearmint. And then I had these like lotion that they sent, and they sent a nice candle too. So you can get, I didn't know that candles could actually be toxic as well. They filled with tons of fillers. So if you're burning those toxic things, you kind of need to be aware that your candles could be toxic too. So it was really nice that I could also get candles from Grove. Basically anything for the home to make sure that it's tested by people that know what they're doing. I go to the Grove.
And they had this glass cleaner. So I like have trouble cleaning my glasses. My dishwasher isn't the best. And they have like this solution. So a lot of what I'm seeing now is like these concentrated natural solutions that you mix with water. So a little bit goes a long way. So you're saving money there. And then I got this like brush, like a sponge that's in the shape of like a wine glass. So I got that one too. And you know what? Like the packaging was so thoughtful. I love thoughtful packaging. Clean. It's just, it's convenient. And so you're in control with your relationship with Grove. It's customizable, auto shipments delivered to your door. You can pause or cancel at any time. And it's just really nice because I always forget, like I need auto shipments. I'm sorry. Like I'm just going to forget to get it. But you can easily change or manage your account at any time. So with a 100% happiness guarantee, they have free shipping. It's so easy to discover these amazing and affordable natural home and personal care products with the confidence of supporting a safer environment for your family. So right now, our listeners can try Grove with a 2-month VIP membership and bonus gift by going to grove.co/almost. That's grove.co/almost30, not grove.com. It's grove.co/almost30. And you can get your discount there to get a happier, healthy home. This episode is also brought to you by Skinny Dipped. Well, I've officially gotten a majority of my friends hooked on Skinny Dipped almonds. This healthy snack has tons of protein, an insane amount of fiber. It's organic, ethically sourced artisan dark chocolate. These are real ingredients, nothing that you have to worry about or question, and they are so delicious. There's this crunch to these almonds that have this little dust of artisan chocolate that I cannot explain. You need to try them, and they come in some of my favorite thoughtful flavors: raspberry, espresso, cacao. There's a new peanut butter that I just tried that is out of this world. Skinny Dipped Almonds is a female-owned company. These women had a dream, had an idea, a thought that they could do something better, and they did it. And that is so inspiring to us. We love Skinny Dipped Almonds. They've been such a huge support as we've been on our nationwide tour, soon to be world tour. The girls have been freaking out. They're usually finished with the skinny dip before they leave the event. Let's get real. But the Skinny Dipped story has been so inspiring to our girls who are entrepreneurs, so many of them themselves. So we're just proud, really, really proud. Almost 30 is the code, ALMOST30, for 20% off your first order at skinnydipped.com. So almost 30, ALMOST30, for 20% off your first order at skinnydipped.com.
Have you always been such a, it's like you just see something, like you have a vision for something, and then you just unabashedly go for it. I just wonder, what sort of skills, or how to be less afraid? What is that, part of you that's so unafraid and so sure?
Oh, I'm afraid and unsure all the time.
Of what?
I think the ideas that I push out into the world are sometimes good because I'm actually very self-critical. And I think long and hard about something and before I move. And then when I do move on it, like the It Gets Better project, I was thinking about that for, weeks before we just pulled the trigger. Thinking about it for weeks, but also talking to other people. I reached out to a lot of gay writers and queer bloggers I knew to say, so if we did this, what do you think of this concept? What do you think of this name? Do you think this will take off? Do you think your readers would respond? Would you be tempted to write about it if we did this? And really sussed it out. So it's not just that I was like, hey, let's make a video on Saturday morning, and on Saturday afternoon it was out there in the world. I prepped it.
Wow. And then last question for me, where do you get your information then? With your publication and then everything you kind of put out in the world, where do you get your news and info?
I'm a Twitter addict. Hi, my name is Dan, and I'm addicted to Twitter. I read a lot of, I still get the Dead Tree New York Times and the New Yorker at my house. And I and I've always been a news junkie. And Twitter is it's just so addictive for news junkies.
Who's your favorite person to follow on Twitter?
Josh Marshall at Talking Points Memo, because I'm a news junkie, and he pushes out just the right amount of hard news and very valuable links with just hilarious snark. And I very much enjoy following him. And Mark Harris is somebody else on Twitter.
John Marshall, Mark Harris.
That I love following.
Okay. Last two things I want you to touch on so our listeners know about them. Hump.
Yeah, we need to talk about
talking about not being afraid and just doing it.
Talking about something we talked about for 2 years before we launched it.
Really?
Sure.
Hump is America's best dirty little film festival. And the idea when we launched it here in Seattle 14, 15 years ago was we invited people just in Seattle to make 5-minute or less pornographic films that then would be screened in a movie theater in Seattle. And then all the copies would be destroyed at the end of the weekend. So you could be a porn star for that weekend in that movie theater without winding up being a porn star in a movie theater or on the internet for all eternity. And it allowed for people to do that without having to worry about their great-grandchildren one day having to look at great-grandma's pussy. And it was really, we didn't know when we announced it, we weren't sure that anybody would make and submit films, particularly when we would be screening them in the city where you live, because it was just for Seattle when we first rolled it out. And then we got so many great and funny and hilarious and creative pornographic shorts. Many of them like comedic shorts with a pornographic theme or actual graphic sex depicted in them, but they were still kind of funny and interesting and crazy and off the wall. And then we booked a theater, and the question became, will people come and sit in the movie theater in the dark next to strangers and watch pornography the way their grandparents did when they went to see Deep Throat or Behind the Green Door? And the answer was yes. Like the whole thing sold out. And this is after 2 years of us having to talk to the publisher of The Stranger, Tim Keck, and like convince him to let us do this, because he was like, no one is going to make a film and no one is going to come. You know, even if we get films, no one's going to come and sit in a movie theater, watch pornography. And he is so wrong and has been so wrong. And I like to remind him every time I see him how wrong he was.
Still waiting for your submission.
We're in the 15th year.
Wow.
And it tours the country. It's going to 60 cities.
That is the coolest.
It's still theater only. There is no online component. You have to show up at Hump to see the films in Hump. Every once in a while, a filmmaker themselves will release one of their films on YouTube if it's not graphic, or one of the porn tubes if it is graphic. But we don't release anything. And there are lots of films that are really great and hilarious that have been in Hump that you won't ever get to see ever anywhere else.
What was the idea, to take the shame away from pornography, or like give people that sexual fantasy that?
The idea was to have some fun.
Yeah.
There's some really interesting things that Hump achieves, but I'd be sucking my own dick, and I should film that for Hump if I could do that, but I can't. If I claimed we had this high-minded goal at the start, we just wanted to have fun, and amateur porn was its own genre, and like, why not? Everyone suddenly had camera phones, and the technology was getting more and more easily available to everyone. So why not invite people to like create their own and see what we get? And we just wanted to do a good weekend's program and have fun. And the thing that happened over the first few years, because that weekend was such a success, we announced it again. In those first few years, we got a lot of films that aped the conventions of commercial pornography. Audiences hated those films. And there's always been audience awards and ballots. So the audience kind of edited Hump, and those films disappeared. And the films became more personal and more idiosyncratic and more, someone sharing with the audience their thing. And it being very specific to that individual in the film. But then the thing that I love about Hump, it really is the porn festival for people who hate porn. People who hate porn talk about how dehumanizing it is. The porn at Hump is humanizing, because these films are made by friends and lovers for fun and for each other and to share with the audience. And there's no commercial motivation. There's no duress, economic duress. There's a lot of people going to porn or going to sex work under economic duress. People go into all sorts of shitty lines of work under economic duress. It's not to single out porn or sex work for that. But you can just like relax and enjoy Hump without having to worry for the people that you're watching, which sometimes you do when you look at regular porn. But I watch the audiences at Hump. And this is what I love. There's gay porn, straight porn, kink porn, porn featuring, people who are trans or have, intersex, gender nonconforming bodies. And you've got this audience of queer people and straight people and kinky people and vanilla people. And the gay boys are watching Cunnilingus giant on the screen. And the straight guys who have never in their lives seen gay sex are watching a guy getting his ass reamed giant on the screen. And vanilla people are watching kinky porn, and kinky people are, they can take it, watching vanilla porn. And cisgendered people are watching porn that was made by trans people for themselves and not to like cater to the cis, gays. And the most amazing thing happens at Hump, which is, for the first, third of it, people kind of get the wind knocked out of them. People are thrown back in their seats a little bit. They're really shocked because all they can see is the differences. That's not my thing. That's not the kind of sex I enjoy. That's not the kind of sex partner I would pick. That's not the body type I like. Those aren't my kinks or whatever. And, that's not my sexual orientation that's happening up there on the screen. And you're watching porn, that if you're home alone sitting in front of your computer masturbating, you wouldn't click on, right? And you're watching just what we throw at you. And at first, people are just like, and they have the wind knocked out of them, and that's not my thing, because all they can see is the differences. And about a third of the way through, halfway through, people are laughing and clapping and cheering for every film. No one's knocked back in their seat anymore. Even if something off the wall comes up next, people are in it and loving it. And there's just this moment where you can just feel the audience turn, where they go from only being able to see the differences to seeing the similarities. Because the differences are this thin veneer on top of all of the stuff that we all experience in the same way. The sense of vulnerability, desire, a sense of humor, lust, that desire for connection, all of that is underneath this thin layer of differences. And all of that is the same, whether you're gay or straight or trans or bi or kinky or vanilla. And you just can watch, because we watch the audiences, you can just watch the audience turn. And that's people, I don't think people could articulate it at that moment, but they get it at that moment.
It's a beautiful way to put it. Just a thin veneer.
And it's really, it's really fun.
Yeah.
You know, to see what everybody else is up to, what turns everybody else on. And some of the films are crazy. You know, we had a film called Go Ahead and Pee a few years ago. And it was a woman jumping
Tell us everything about this.
A woman jumping on a trampoline in a gray unitard in a backyard while a voiceover said, "Go ahead, pee." And then suddenly you realize she was peeing as her unitard turned to darker gray at the crotch and down the legs. And then the film ends. And people were like, "How is that pornography?" Like, it's her pornography. That's her thing. That's her pornography. That turns her on. Because sex is whatever works for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what, that works for her. That does it for her. She shared her porn with us. And how crazy and fun was that?
I love that.
Yeah, amazing. I do. Go ahead and pee.
Yeah, honestly, she's like, I need you to do a voiceover. Okay, last thing. What would you tell your like early 20s self? If you could like tell them anything.
My early 20s self.
What was early 20s, Dan?
Buy Apple.
Yeah, man.
Dude. Did you see the...
I mean stock, of course.
Yes. Did you see the recent study? It's like if Apple was a country, it would be like the 30th richest country in the world. It would have like, it's like insane.
Yeah, buy Apple is probably the first thing I would tell my early 20s self. Like every cent you could scrape up, buy Apple. I think the other thing I would tell myself, sex and relationship wise, would be to start telling the truth. That, you know, the thing that I tell everybody about being honest, about using their words, those are lessons I had to learn. I think maybe we all have to learn them. But, you know, I was in relationships where I cheated. I was in relationships that weren't right for me because I thought those were the kinds of relationships I ought to want to have. I did things that were crazy. Like when I first came out that were crazy, like I was never going to have anal sex because that upset straight people too much. So I was going to be the kind of gay person that straight people could be comfortable around because I would be the kind of gay person who never did butt stuff. That was nuts.
I was like, what does that even
awesome.
look like?
And a lot of straight people do that too. And I just think I had to learn to relax and learn to, you know, the stuff that I do is mostly encouraging people to accept themselves and tell the truth about themselves and have the courage to do so. I wasn't born with that. I had to learn how to do that through trial and error. And it was mostly, you know, I would not be honest and it would fuck everything up. And then I was like, okay, how much worse could it be if I was honest? Maybe if I was honest, it wouldn't explode. And I started telling the truth and asking for what I wanted and being for my partner the person that they asked me to be, if I could be that person too. And it just worked so much better. Doesn't mean no conflict, doesn't mean no stress, doesn't mean no drama or fights or heartbreak or heartache. All of that is just built into the human experience, but so much less unnecessary chunks of all that shit, if you're being honest.
Beautiful. Dan Savage.
That was amazing.
You're the best. Yeah. Thank you so much
for
sharing your
truth. You inspire me to be honest.
Sorry?
You inspire me to be honest.
Yeah, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Partners.
Sorry?
I'm just kidding.
The worst thing that could happen is somebody dumps you.
Dude, when I'm honest about something that I'm scared to be honest about, I get fucking high. Like, I'm like, oh my God. Like, it's just like, it feels so good. Not that I am not honest a lot, but I'm honest a lot. But when it's something seems challenging, I'm honest about
There's
it.
Exceptions to every rule, including the just be honest thing. There are times when the most loving thing you can do is lie your fucking face off.
Wow. Got that covered. Thank you so much
How
for coming.
How can people connect with you?
You can listen to the Savage Lovecast, my podcast. 10 years now I've been doing it.
That's
crazy.
By the way.
I know,
years?
right? SavageLovecast.com is where you can find the Lovecast. I also write Savage Love, my syndicated sex advice column. I've been doing that for 28 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
And that you can find at thestranger.com.
It's so good.
Where you can also find the Savage Love Letter of the Day. And Savage Love is published in about 70, 80 papers across North America and Canada.
Incredible. And people can call into your show, which I love that aspect of your show.
206-302-2064 if you want to call in a question.
Oh my gosh. Ladies, tell them we sent you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye, guys. Bye.
Dan Savage.
Dan Savage, y'all.
Thanks for coming, Dan.
we didn't talk about this in the intro, but him doing the It Gets Better. That campaign is everything. So just so honored to have Dan on. Dan is amazing. And as we end every episode, want to read the review of the week. You guys are so sweet in writing your reviews. They mean so much to us. They help us bring on amazing guests and really just keep this thing going. So this one is 5 stars. There aren't enough stars to properly rate this, from Gumby12. I don't listen to podcasts, but my best friend said I just had to give this one a chance. She was referred to this podcast by another friend and couldn't stop raving about it. So I gave it a listen, and now I can't stop sharing it either. These ladies take a long look at and talk about everything from hormones, sex, being a woman, entrepreneurship, and using safe cleaning products. We get to sit back and learn about it all. What I love about them is that they ask the questions we want answered. I swear I've asked something aloud to myself and hear them asking the same question not even a minute after me. I love their enthusiasm. Every episode is jam-packed with interesting conversations and really good humor. I really can't say enough about how happy I am that I'm listening to and learning from the Almost 30 podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sweet one.
Okay. We love you. Just want to eat you up. Thank you guys for listening. We love you. We will see you, talk to you, connect with you soon, connect with each other. It really brings us life. You connecting in real life with one another in your own communities. Please do that. Tag us. We want to know. Invite us to your groups on Facebook. Don't leave us out. We want to be a part of it, and we will see you next week.